Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Maybe the facility you manage could establish new revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services. Cart King International can be the answer to your needs. Cart King is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile coffee, food, and retail carts and kiosks. Cart King has been working with clients and corporations across North America for 20 years, providing innovative designs, custom manufacturing, and timely delivery. Carts and kiosks are fun, and so are the dozens of designs on our website. Please visit us today at www.cart-king.com or just call us at 1-877-986-7771 and get your sales rolling.
If you find yourself in need of legal representation, it can be a very stressful time in your life. In my career, I have dealt with thousands of lawyers, I've dealt with thousands of law firms, and I can confidently recommend to you Keith M. Davidson at kmdlaw.com. Available 24 hours, 7 days a week. Just log into kmdlaw.com. That's kmdlaw.com. Or you can call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. That's 833-4KMD-LAW. Personal injury, wrongful death, STDs, sexual assault, car accidents. They handle it all efficiently and professionally. It doesn't matter how imposing the opposition may be, because the team at kmdlaw.com are battle-tested and fierce. They will not stop until justice prevails. Go to kmdlaw.com or call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. If you're in for the fight of your life, stop screwing around and contact KMD Law. PureSoapFlakes.com, 218-568-2525. Have you ever heard of Castile Soap? Pure Soap Flake Company handcrafts fine soap bars, laundry powder, and concentrated soap flakes using organic vegetable oils from their northern Minnesota facility. Bathe your body and wash your clothes with Pure Soap products that are free of fragrance, GMOs, palm oil, sodium lauryl sulfate, and synthetic additives. Keep it clean, folks. Pure Soap Flake Company products are kind to living creatures and sensitive skin, safe for drains and waterways, and work great in high-efficiency washers and top and front-loading machines. They have a little promotion going on. Contact them to order some soap. Mention the Opperman Report. You're going to get a free gift. They're going to send a little extra soap, travel size, soap bars and laundry soap, cleaning soap flakes. I've been using that stuff all day long today. Great stuff. Order today at puresoapflakes.com or give them a call, 218-568-2525, 218-568-2525. Pure Soap Flake Company is a proud member of the Handcrafted Soap and Cosmetic Guild. The Opperman Report is brought to you by Aquadam.net. You can give them a call at 707-764-2119. A flooded home is never easy to deal with. You're left with the mess to clean up, the insurance companies to deal with, and not to mention all the memories, the precious memories that are lost in the flood. You can never replace those. And Aquadam can be a tool in your arsenal to protect your home and property from the floodwaters. The cofferdam is filled with water to control water and is reusable as long as it's taken care of. It can protect your home or business from rising floodwaters like a dam, but without the beavers. It can also be used in construction. If you need an area to be dewatered, an Aquadam can do the job. An Aquadam was used at SeaWorld in Orlando for the Mako roller coaster ride during the coaster's construction by dewatering the work area. An Aquadam is now dewatering the work area at San Antonio SeaWorld for their newest roller coaster ride. An Aquadam has been used in many construction projects all around the U.S. and all around the world. Now give Aquadam a call, 707-764-2119. You can look them up online at aquadam.net. You can find them on Facebook at Aquadam Inc. You call them up, you email them, you tell them Ed Opperman sent you, and they're going to take 10% off the price. Aquadam.net, 707-764-2119.
It's the Opperman Report. Join digital forensic investigator and PI Ed Opperman for an in-depth discussion of conspiracy theories, strategy of New World Order resistance, high-profile court cases in the news, and interviews with expert guests and authors on these topics and more. It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, private investigator Ed Opperman, and you can find me at Opperman Investigations in Digital Forensic Consulting through my website, emailrevealer.com. If you like today's show, check out OppermanReport.com. That's where we have our members section with exclusive content, court documents, all kinds of stuff up behind a paywall on our members section. And our archives are always free at Spreaker.com. You can go there, look up the past shows, and there's a chat room. And if you sign up and follow the show for free, you get an email notification anytime we put up some new content. Now, this week, this Thursday, 7 p.m. Pacific Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Thursday night, I'm starting a brand new live weekly video podcast on getvocal.com. That's getvocal, VOKL.com. You go there, you sign up for free, and you have to follow my show, and then it's going to be live content. And our first guest on there, by the way, is going to be William Ramsey, and we're going to be discussing the same topic that we're discussing tonight with Terry Hobbs. Terry Hobbs was the stepdad of a little Stevie Branch, who was an innocent little boy that was viciously murdered by these three young men who had a long history of being in trouble in that neighborhood, in that town, a long history of all kinds of animal abuse, statutory sex with young underage girls and stuff. Real dirtbags, okay? They bragged about wanting to do this crime. They went out, they did it. They confessed to doing it. They got convicted for doing it. Then they pled guilty for doing it. Okay, but there was some documentaries, these reality TV shows by HBO put out there called Paradise Lost that kind of romanticized this whole situation with these three convicted men. And since then, it's been a nightmare for my guest, Terry Hobbs, who's a stepfather of little Stevie Branch. And he's written a book called Box Full of Nightmares. You can go back to the Spreaker archives. You can find our previous shows. I've done many shows with Mr. Hobbs. As a matter of fact, the first show I ever did on radio, where I hosted my own show, Terry Hobbs was a guest on that show. And now as we start on different stations like getvocal.com, we just started on WWPR down here in Bradenton, Florida. We have welcomed back Terry Hobbs. Mr. Hobbs, are you there?
I am here. Thank you.
Thank you. And like I said, you've been there always. My first show, whenever I did a new station, picked up a new network or whatever, Terry Hobbs has always been there. And I've always tried to do a show about these three boys who were innocent victims of these three little punks. If I were just to meet you on the street, Terry, who is Terry Hobbs?
Well, if you met me on the street, you probably wouldn't know me. I'm just a working man. I've been a dad all my life, and I'm kind of a stay to myself type of person. I like my privacy, and I work, take care of my family, take care of my business, and that's how I live my life.
Now, Terry, you're back in the news now because there was another sensational reality TV series on the Oxygen channel that, again, seeks to monetize and take advantage and sensationalize this tragedy you've had in your life. What can you tell us about that?
Well, we've had in this Bob Ruff. He's some kind of investigator. I think he's a fire chief investigator. I'm not sure he really qualifies to do what he's doing, but he's popped up out of nowhere, and I'm not sure what his agenda is. I know what he says, but if what he says and what he's doing does not reflect the agenda that, he's leading people to believe.
Yeah, it's interesting. I had Bob Ruff on my show, a couple of years back. And I got the whole story from this guy. He's a volunteer firefighter. Then he became the volunteer fire chief. And he claims that in that he was involved in some arson investigations for a short period of time. Now, I've been an investigator since I was 18, 19 years old. I'm 57 years old now. It's not a simple matter to just walk out of going from rescuing cats from trees to investigating homicides or being a criminal defense investigator. Now, I asked Mr. Ruff about this, and he talks about a previous... Because he's become a podcast. He talks about a previous story he was telling about some convicted murderer. I think his name was Mr. 8. And Mr. Ruff claims that, he got this man exonerated. And he proved his innocence. But in reality, the way Mr. 8 left prisons, he had a normal parole hearing, and he was granted parole. He's a convicted murderer today. He just got released from prison at a regular parole hearing. So... I agree with you, Mr. Hobbs. I don't see how this guy considers himself to have any kind of credentials to be some kind of cold case homicide investigator. Now, repeatedly in this show, and I didn't see every single episode, and I was infuriated when I was watching this, he constantly says that he's the first person ever to investigate this case. Has that been your experience?
He sure said it, and I don't know what he thought the police was doing back in 1993, but I've seen a pretty intense investigation going on back in that day, and I think them men were more than satisfied with their work, and I think their work led to an arrest, a trial, and 2 convictions by 2 juries. And then we go into the serving the sentence, and I don't see where Mr. Ruff gets off on claiming his claim of being the first investigation.
Well, don't forget the confessions, the numerous confessions, or admissions or bragging about these crimes.
Sure.
By all 3 convicted killers. Now, also, too, the defense team had investigators, didn't they?
Of course. And of course they were biased in their investigation, but they called themselves doing one also.
Absolutely. Listen, I work criminal defense cases, and even if your clients are guilty, they are afforded the most vigorous defense that you can possibly give them. Okay, and in a case like this, when there's overwhelming evidence, you have confessions, you have admissions, you have bragging about wanting to do this, and then the people, every polygraphs all over the place. The only really defense you can come up with is, hey, some other dude did it, okay, with some other guy besides my client. So you start looking at people like Mr. Bojangles, and he's coming up with these wild theories and pointing the fingers at the step-parents or the parents of these children. Now, are you the first step-parent to be pointed at?
No, I'm not. They pointed the first finger at John Mark Byers, and for whatever reason that he jumped over on their side, they kind of took the heat off of him. And they have singled me out, and they've singled me out since 2007. And here it is 2020. That's 13 years. For what?
Let's see. Give me an idea of some of the things about this most recent TV show that bothered you.
Well, to hear Mr. Ruff say he's done the first investigation, I don't understand why someone would say that. And to see my name, brought up the way that he portrays me, he picks and he slanders, in my opinion. And sometimes there's nothing that I can do about it, and I don't know what to do. But I just get so tired of these guys that come along and does this stuff to me, and for no reason. And he picks and preys on the victims, and for what?
Now, he claims that you were never questioned by the police. Is this true?
Back in 1993, I attended several times that the police asked us questions. Me and my wife would go, Pam, and I would go down with all the other dads. One time we had a meeting with just the dads. And I went down to this meeting, and every time they come to my home and ask questions, and every time that they wanted something from us, we would do our part.
And I'm sure that during the prosecution, when they were preparing the prosecution, these convicted killers, the prosecutors also came and questioned you as well, trying to gather more information and stuff.
Oh, I have met with all of them, and I have talked to every one of them that ever wanted to ask me a question.
What about John Douglas? John Douglas, former FBI profiler. Did you talk to him?
I talked to Mr. Douglas twice. The first time, he seemed like a level-headed man. I sat there and talked with him, and he has an attorney with him. And, I thought everything went okay. The second time, it was a plumb different John Douglas. He was very aggressive and very determined, and him and that lady attorney. And I walked into what I thought was an ambush. And I walked in and sat down, and when I seen what was going on, I got up and walked out, and they didn't like it. but I did. I wouldn't go sit there and be belittled by anyone.
So then you would consider that to be an investigation as well, right? What about now? You had to sit for a deposition. There was a lawsuit, some litigation with the Dixie Chicks.
Correct.
You had to sit down for a deposition?
I did. I sat there for a day and a half, probably.
Okay.
And all day just answered question after question. And there wasn't none of these questions valid. I mean, there were claims. People just made them up. Mm-hmm. The more they talked to the ones making the claim, the bigger the story got.
It's interesting, too, that one of Mr. Ruff's segments here was talking to one of these internet troll characters, was claiming that he knew your son and was an eyewitness that day and was present. Quite a bit of time was spent on that foolishness, wasn't there?
There was. Yep, and that young lady sat there and just lied to him, and and I don't understand why. Now, let me say this, and this is in the credits of the book Box Full of Nightmares. One of Pam's sisters, actually two of them, but one of them sent me text messages apologizing for what she had said in the past. She was a little young lady when all this happened. She didn't understand like she does today. And she made her amends right, and I put that in the back of the book in the credits.
That brings up a question, because I had some contact with Jocelyn Hicks. Jolynn. I wanted to interview Pam Hicks, your ex-wife, the mother of little Stevie, and they wanted $4,000 from me to interview them. Now, have you ever asked for any money for an interview?
No, but did you mention money?
Man, nice try, man. We got a bad connection. We gotta go. Thank you, Mr. Hobbs, for coming on the show.
No, I'm not out for the money. I live, I work every day, and I take care of my business. But no, I'm not out here for the money. I'm just out here trying to figure out why this keeps happening.
Now, for a good deal of time down there in West Memphis, Arkansas, one of these attorneys' offices had a big giant billboard, right? And it said, what did it say?
Correct.
Reward for information, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, a long time, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of money on the other side. There's a lot of money on this defense team, isn't there?
There is. Actually, that reward started out at $100,000. Now, it was up there for a while, and it went up to $200,000. And I guess they still have it.
It's interesting, too, because, a lot of people over the years are trying to interview Mr. Eccles and Mr. Baldwin, and they have a PR firm, right, that handles their interviews for them, right, and the softball questions are prepared in advance. How was it that Mr. Ruff got this investigator who's out seeking the truth? How was it that he was able to sneak past that PR team and get these interviews?
Well, he claims he looked them up. And matter of fact, if you notice during that Oxygen show that they had, he was at a house and he was yelling at someone he thought was Jesse.
Right.
We never seen Jesse.
Right.
So could it be that anybody in there, that house, could have yelled back, acting like they was Jesse? That's his investigation.
Yeah.
And then he turned around and said, I got permission from Jesse.
Well, now, the thing is, too, now, this permission to do some new DNA testing, like we said, the defense team was a very well-paid defense team, right? These were serious defense lawyers, Innocence Project lawyers, all time. So they would be up to date on the most recent sophisticated DNA testing, right? They don't need a fireman to tell them, right, how to test DNA?
I would imagine. I would imagine.
Yeah, I would imagine, too.
There's new DNA testing, so I just became aware of when Bob, has said all this stuff, and I would imagine that there's new testing coming along, that we didn't have back in 1993.
Now, the thing is, under what legal theory, because I didn't watch the entire series, because I only heard about this when I heard about the last episode. Under what legal theory is there that there would be new testing of this evidence when there's been an Alfred plea, there's been a guilty plea, they've served their time, they're basically, they're on a lifetime probation, but it's totally unsupervised on lifetime parole. What legal basis would there be to open up new testing in this case? Under what grounds? I'm unaware.
Well, I think, I don't know if there's any legalities about it, but, you know, as Mr. Ellington stated, that he would look at any new testings that come about in the future. Well, can I run something past you?
Go ahead.
Mr. Bob Ruff came to Memphis. Okay, now, and I met with him now he did not say anything about this in that Oxygen show, but I met with him and bought his supper at a Corky's barbecue here in Memphis. He wanted me to know, and now he put on this show that he thought I wanted him to come down here to see what he was up to. That wasn't it. He wanted me to know about this new DNA testing, and he's sitting across the table from me, just spilling the beans and telling me all about this stuff and how it worked and all this. And you know what? I looked at him, and this is what got me, because he did not mention this in that Oxygen movie or documentary. But he looked at me and was just getting into details about it, you know. And I looked at him and I said, well, I'm glad. I hope that Scott Ellington grants you the right to do this. And he looked at me like he just couldn't think of something to say. He said, what you mean? I said, so we can put an end to this case. And he said, what you mean by that? And I said that when this new DNA, if it's true, falls out, and them three boys' DNA lands there on that whatever, that we can finally put a close to this case. And he just acted like he didn't know what to say.
Well, what did he say in the documentary, though? I thought the theory was that you didn't want to get tested, but everybody else said, yeah, they want to get tested, but Terry Hobbs didn't want to cooperate.
No, it's not me. It's them shoestrings. You know, he's talking about the ligatures, the knots in the ligatures.
Right.
And he claims that this new DNA testing, that there's DNA inside them knots. So when they untie them, it's going to drop down, and wham, there you go. I am all for that, if it can happen, if it's possible. He didn't mention that I said that.
Now, can you explain to us why people claim that some of these hairs found in these shoelaces connects to Terry Hobbs? What is that? It's not like the OJ DNA test where they say it's 99.9% that it's OJ's blood. Do you know what the statistics are in this case?
No, not really, but it's, 1 in 900 or something like that.
All right.
But you know what? I have never heard anybody say until this Oxygen thing happened that there was more than one hair in them ligatures. Actually, I Googled on Google. Google at one point said there was 2 hairs, and then it went on to say that there was, 6 hairs?
I mean, I've always heard it was in the nature of 2 to 3 hairs. I've never heard 6 hairs before. This is something new that Bob Ruff has come up with?
No, it's on Google.
It's on Google, okay. Maybe Bob's beard lost some hairs. A couple of hairs fell out of his beard into the test there. Now, you know, another thing, too. You know, I had Bob Ruff on my show, like I said, and we were talking about Damien Echols and his involvement with, you know, the occult, Crowley, talking about child sacrifice, drinking blood, vampirism, all this kind of stuff. But in the show, he portrays it, well, at the time, Damien Echols described himself as into Wicca, right? And he was kind of like a confused kid, you know, or, you know, mixed up.
Right.
But this guy's devoted his life to this practice, isn't that true?
Right. And he talked a lot about Aleister Crowley. I remember that name.
Yeah.
He was a follower or believer or whatever of that guy.
And even till today, he just wrote a book about magic, doing black magic and stuff.
Well, I don't keep up with him.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to be covering a lot of that stuff with William Ramsey on Thursday live. So we're going to be getting into all that stuff, too, because it is so well documented. While Damien Echols was in prison, the prison ministry he joined was the Crowley Thelmalites religion, okay? And he got so many books on witchcraft and occult that he donated these books to create a library for these the local Crowley group. And then we got a hold of the people who bought his storage locker. He didn't pay his storage locker bill. These guys go in there and get the storage locker, and they found all of his writings and stuff. Are you aware of this, Terry Hobbs, of what some of the stuff they found in there?
I was, and I think my cousin Vicky, bought some of that stuff or got a hold of some of that stuff. And, yeah, but I remember when that hit the news.
Yep. One of the things that they found in there was a Bible, Christian Bible, but the only thing that was underlined in the Bible that were things that related to the devil, demons, Satan, that stuff. None of the good stuff, okay? Then they found a letter he had written where he said, I am the devil, not a devil, I am the devil. Then there's some other pornographic literature, erotic literature in there where he's talking about hog-tying a woman. Now, the victims in this case were hogtied, right?
Correct.
So here we have a guy with a sexual interest in hogtying, okay? And we have the victims in this case were hogtied. But none of that seemed to make it to this great documentary with this... none of that made it to the air, huh?
Right.
Amazing.
And I guess they pick on what they want, and like his profiler... that dude, I don't understand him, Mr. Clement or something like that.
Oh, yeah, Jim Clemente, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, he just singled me out. I was his hero, I guess.
Yeah, I've never met him myself, but he's an interesting guy, a lot of different involvement in a lot of different things. By the way, too, you were, later on, there was some new allegations came up, and the police questioned you for a whole day. You were interrogated later on in your life as well, right?
Right.
Now, is that all the stuff about David Jacoby?
Do what now?
Is that all the stuff that's about David Jacoby initiated that whole thing?
Did David Jacoby initiate us talking to the police?
No, yeah, that's when the second time you were questioned. How did that come about? The second time you were questioned years later.
Well, Brent Davis. Now he was the district prosecuting attorney at the time. Called me up and asked me if I would go over there and answer some questions from the police department, and I said I sure would. And I show up, and David is there. So they questioned both of us. And then we was there at another time, and they took, feet prints, fingerprints, hair samples, all kind of DNA stuff, that I guess they didn't have on file. But back in 93, they told us there would be a day when this would happen. But that never did happen back then.
And what did you want to tell me about David Jacoby?
David Jacoby. I met, he said on the Oxygen show that I met him through Pam, which was true. They both were from Blytheville, Arkansas. I had a restaurant in Blytheville, Arkansas. It's where I met Pam. It's where I married Pam. Okay, we ended up moving to West Memphis, and we meet David Jacoby and his wife, Bobby. So that's how I met them. Now, David, I liked David back then. I didn't know him, but, as trying to make new friends, and Pam knew both of them. So I went along, and, I thought we became friends. And I gave him a guitar one time. He liked to play music, so I'd give him a guitar. He didn't have one, and he didn't have a job one time, and I got him a job where I worked at the ice cream company. So I always thought David was pretty level-headed, just a pretty good young guy, just taking care of his business, his family. And then here along comes John Douglas. Now, and David told me, he said they pulled up in 3 blacked-out SUVs, John Douglas and whoever else was with them. And they intimidated that young man and had him scared. And when I seen him on the Oxygen show, I mean, I didn't understand. What's he scared of? What, you don't have nothing to hide. People don't look at him, probably like what he was on there saying. I'd get out here and I'd live my life and I'd enjoy it. That's what I do.
But what kind of I didn't catch the part with David Jacoby on the series. What kind of allegations was he making on the show?
Well, it's not allegations, He just looked drugged out.
Oh, okay.
It's either wore out, drugged out, or something. But he just didn't. He wasn't the same David as I knew.
Yeah, it's tragic, and this whole thing has taken its toll on everybody involved,
Sure.
Yeah. We're going to have to take a little commercial break. When we get back, I'm going to ask you, because Bob Ruff keeps talking about how there's no physical evidence that connects these three boys, these three little choir boys, to these murders that they bragged about doing and then confessed to doing. There's something about a necklace, right?
Yes, sir.
When we get back, we'll talk about that. We'll be right back with more of Terry Hobbs. Terry Hobbs is the stepdad of a little Stevie Branch. And Mr. Hobbs wrote a book called Box Full of Nightmares to give you an idea what his view of this whole situation has been. Once again, he's been on the show many, many times. Never asked me for a dime. Not once. Never dodged a question. Never hung up on me. Never. Always stuck through every interview, no matter how rough you've gotten. Known him a long time. We'll be right back with more of Terry Hobbs right after these messages. And now a word from our sponsors. If you find yourself in need of legal representation, it can be a very stressful time in your life. In my career, I have dealt with thousands of lawyers, I've dealt with thousands of law firms, and I can confidently recommend to you Keith M. Davidson at kmdlaw.com. Available 24 hours, 7 days a week. Just log into kmdlaw.com. That's kmdlaw.com. Or you can call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. That's 833-4KMD-LAW. Personal injury, wrongful death, STDs, sexual assault, car accidents. They handle it all efficiently and professionally. It doesn't matter how imposing the opposition may be, because the team at kmdlaw.com are battle-tested and fierce. They will not stop until justice prevails. Go to kmdlaw.com or call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. If you're in for the fight of your life, stop screwing around and contact KMD Law.
Are you ready to change your life, but don't know how to start? Is your stress and worries keeping you awake at night? Have you been battling grief, anxiety, or depression all alone? Have you lost touch with your own sense of being or spirituality? Soul Free Therapies offers professional and affordable live video streaming counseling and coaching services from the comfort of your own home. Sessions offered in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. Go to our website at www.soul-free.com and book your first session today.
The Opperman Report is brought to you by Aquadam.net. You can give them a call at 707-764-2119. A flooded home is never easy to deal with. You're left with the mess to clean up, the insurance companies to deal with, and not to mention all the memories, the precious memories that are lost in the flood. You can never replace those. And Aquadam can be a tool in your arsenal to protect your home and property from the floodwaters. The cofferdam is filled with water to control water and is reusable as long as it's taken care of. It can protect your home or business from rising floodwaters like a dam, but without the beavers. It can also be used in construction. If you need an area to be dewatered, an Aquadam can do the job. An Aquadam was used at SeaWorld in Orlando for the Mako roller coaster ride during the coaster's construction by dewatering the work area. An Aquadam is now dewatering the work area at San Antonio SeaWorld for their newest roller coaster ride. An Aquadam has been used in many construction projects all around the U.S. and all around the world. Now give Aquadam a call, 707-764-2119. You can look them up online at aquadam.net. You can find them on Facebook at Aquadam Inc. You call them up, you email them, you tell them Ed Opperman sent you, and they're going to take 10% off the price. Aquadam.net, 707-764-2119. PureSoapFlakes.com, 218-568-2525. Have you ever heard of Castile Soap? Pure Soap Flake Company handcrafts fine soap bars, laundry powder, and concentrated soap flakes using organic vegetable oils from their northern Minnesota facility. Bathe your body and wash your clothes with Pure Soap products that are free of fragrance, GMOs, palm oil, sodium lauryl sulfate, and synthetic additives. Keep it clean, folks. Pure Soap Flake Company products are kind to living creatures and sensitive skin, safe for drains and waterways, and work great in high-efficiency washers and top and front-loading machines. They have a little promotion going on. Contact them to order some soap. Mention the Opperman Report. You're going to get a free gift. They're going to send a little extra soap, travel size, soap bars, and laundry soap, cleaning soap flakes. I've been using that stuff all day long today. Great stuff. Order today at puresoapflakes.com or give them a call, 218-568-2525, 218-568-2525. Pure Soap Flake Company is a proud member of the Handcrafted Soap and Cosmetic Guild.
It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome back to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, Private Investigator Ed Opperman. Be sure and check out this Thursday night live, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to have a getvocal.com. We're going to have a live video podcast. My first guest is going to be William Ramsey, and we're going to be talking about this case here again, the cases of the West Memphis 3. But here we're here today with the stepdad of little Stevie Branch. Mr. Hobbs, Mr. Ruff said over and over and over again that there was no physical evidence to connect these three men to this crime. What about the necklace?
He did. He mentioned that more than once. Yeah. But after, now, let me run this past you. Okay. We were told by the state of Arkansas that after the trials had begun, that they had found a necklace belonging to Damian Eccles in one of the trailers that he lived in. Okay? And it had the blood of our little boy on that necklace. And so they were not able to use that during the trials in fear of a mistrial. Okay? It's sealed up. And it's still sealed up. So as the state, or as the defense team approached the Arkansas Supreme Court for a new evidential hearing, they granted them that hearing. Okay, before the hearing date is when they come up with this Alford plea. And the defense knew, and they still know, that necklace is still there. And that is physical evidence that Bob Ruff will not tell you about.
Bob Ruff also goes, yeah.
I think it's very strong evidence.
Most so also all the confessions, the whole softball incident there, where like this whole neighborhood watching the softball games in an uproar because this nut is running around admitting to murders.
Right.
And people should really go back. It's called the Softball Girls Witness. And first Damien lied about it. And he says, well, I never said it. And he says, well, if I said it, I was joking. But the thing is, it wasn't just like an incident where he was walking by and some girls over it. These kids went and told their parents. So people were moving their seats. You got to read the police reports on that whole incident. It was a whole major incident at this Little League game here that everyone there was aware of. It wasn't like some girls making up a story like he tried to claim. Now, also, too, Bob Ruff goes back to the crime scene, right? And he declares, well, the killer had to know this area. Didn't Damian Eccles live right across the street there at one point?
He lived in the neighborhood in a trailer.
And at the time of the age, they wouldn't be playing back there, right?
I guess they did. I'm not sure.
And they were seen walking down that road covered in mud.
Correct. By
the Hollingsworth family?
I believe it was somebody like that.
Yeah.
My first time in that wood was May the 5th. I never knew that it was there.
Right.
Never paid attention to it. Never knew kids played in it.
How far was that from your home?
It was probably a mile.
Okay.
It was the Moores and the Byers lived closer to it than we did, and it was really close to their homes.
What about Stevie's biological dad? Where does he stand in all this?
Steve, he's a good man. He's a working man, and it tore him up in 07 when they released him, or when they released the boys, or 11, I think it was. And he has outbursts, and You know, you can't blame him. He did. And they escorted him out of the courtroom. And he also had an outburst when we all met down there in West Memphis to see who they was going to charge. You know, and we all did. So they escorted us out of the courtroom.
Yeah, he actually contacted me once to thank me for the work I've done on this. And I asked him to come if you want to come on air. He's declined. But he's never accused you or changed any kind of his opinion of who committed these murders.
No, I wouldn't think he wouldn't do that. 'Cause, you know, we don't jump around like that.
Right. No, right. Now, what do you think happened that day? How do you think the three boys came into contact with those three killers?
I don't know. I have no earthly idea. I have thought about this, and I'm like everybody else. I have one question, and that is why? What did they do? You know, to deserve that? But I don't know. I don't know what happened. I don't know how it happened, and it just blows my mind.
But that there were other incidents of Eccles stalking and harassing little 8-year-old girls at the skate rink and stuff like that?
Well, I'm not sure. I never knew him, never seen him, never heard anything about him. We didn't go to the skating rink, and so I'm not sure. I'm sure there's something.
Yeah. And his girlfriend at the time was how old? 13, 14?
Dominique?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, and he was 18.
Yeah, I didn't keep up with him. I didn't even know nothing about him.
Right, and also, too, it came out during the trial, animal abuse. This guy was killing animals, dogs, and had skulls and cat skulls hanging from clotheslines in his backyard, a mouse skull, all this kind of stuff.
Right, I remember all that.
Yeah.
In the trials.
Yeah.
A weird person.
Wonderful guy. And then it came out, too, in his defense to mitigate the sentence mitigation. Came out with a psychological report, Exhibit 500, that discusses how he was put into a mental institution because his parents were afraid of him. When he got in there, he wanted to attack another patient in there and lick the blood off another patient. Claimed he had godlike powers and could levitate. Clearly a dangerous guy.
Yeah, clearly all the signs of somebody you don't want to trust.
Yeah. So this idea that, well, you know, the police down there just had it out for him because he wore a black T-shirt and listened to Metallica, what do you think of that?
Well, of course, I didn't know him, and from what I've read over the years, you know, he had a history of something that would make the police, you know, look into things that he was doing. You know, and that says something right there.
Now, in the last episode of this series, allegations were made about you by Mr. Ruff. Can you describe that?
Well, you know, I watched it twice, and when I get to that part, him just, you know, just picking and picking and picking, you know, I looked at it like, really? You know, why? Why you keep doing this? You're doing the same thing that the rest of them have done in the past.
But the thing is, you know, if he were going to try and sell this TV show, he would need the cooperation of two of the killers, right? He would need the cooperation of some of the parents that are willing to take money to go on TV. Like, there's not a lot of money in telling the other story. Now, by the way, that reminds me, too, now, these three characters, right, had they not, they've achieved the celebrity status, but had they not been caught and convicted of these murders in that the reality TV series done about them, they'd probably be in prison for something else or dead from an overdose or some other situation, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
I don't understand what kind of society that we live in today that supports what they have done and what they do. That is mind-blowing.
Now, there was one other question here, was that Ruff denied to you that he worked on the Chris Watts case. What's that about?
Well, when we sat down here at the barbecue place and was having supper, my lady looked at him and said, I know you. And he said, how? She said, from the Chris Watts case. He said, I didn't work on that case. Well, we came home, and she gets on her phone, and she pulls up this case, and it shows him sitting there talking to him. You know, and I didn't understand that. Why you didn't have to say that? And so this the other night, she pulled it up again because I wanted to make sure it was him. She pulled it up again. He's sitting there interviewing him.
Yeah, that is because, you know, I was talking to him about, and he was aware of Damien Echols' involvement with the occult and Exhibit 500. He's aware of all that. And he said to me when I was interviewing him, he says, well, why would that matter? And I says, because it proves he's a liar, you know? And
right.
Same kind of thing goes for Ruff, I hate to say. Because also, too, we had a friendly interview, you know? I took it easy on him. I felt bad for him, to tell you the truth. And then later on, a couple of days later on Twitter, he's saying that I'm a defense. I always go along with the cops. I can count on one hand the amount of times I've worked for prosecutor's office. It's always been criminal defense. So I don't know where he came up with that. And it was just so rude and arrogant. I was just disgusted. There's no reason to lie. Now, one thing it shocks me in this, because the Oxygen channel is a responsible channel. Now, before they aired this show, making these allegations against you, no one contacted you and said, hey, Mr. Hobbs, we're about to say this. Do you have a response to this?
No, sir. I haven't been contacted by anybody with Oxygen or any attorneys saying anything.
Outrageous. And you never signed a release to cooperate with the filming, right?
I didn't.
Yeah. This is just fascinating.
Yeah. You know, they do what they want. And I don't understand that.
Yeah, well, just responsible journalism. Even when I'm doing a show, when we did a show about a local politician back in Nevada, and before I do the show, I said, hey, listen, I have this information. I'm going to report this on the show Friday night. I'm going to say it live. What do you have to say to me? Or even an email. You send an email over. Hey, what is your response? Corey Feldman just did a documentary, and before I did my reporting on him, I sent an email over. Hey, man, I'm about to say this. What do you have to say back? If you're going to accuse somebody of something, and you're responsible and you're legitimate, you give them an opportunity to respond. Because guess what? If the guy is dirty, he may confess to something. He may slip up. Of course you want to talk to him. Unless, what? It's a hatchet job.
Right. Right. This is what this is. This is an ambush. Hatchet job, call it whatever, but that's how he does, I guess. And now, let me run this past you.
Go ahead.
I looked up on Reddit, Reddit.
Yeah.
You ever heard of that?
Oh, sure.
Oh, they're on there bashing Mr. Ruff. They're accusing him, as he is accusing another podcast of getting famous off of victims' families' misfortunes.
Yeah. I hate to, it's a two-edged sword. Everybody out there has a podcast now. Everybody on their brother, and there really is no oversight. There's no authority. Even when I started out on small internet stations, and you were responsible to your, the owner of the station, and now I'm on AM/FM radio. You're responsible to your station. You're responsible to your community. To what you're reporting. But now, just like there's so many amateurs out there, just running off at the mouth, making these wild accusations. Now, Terry, you wrote a book about all this, your experience of the past. How many? 30 years it's been?
At 27.
27 years. God bless you. Now, box full of nightmares, right?
Correct.
And you cover a lot of this stuff in it, don't you?
I do. I started a journal years ago, and actually I still do some journaling today on other things that happen. And people wouldn't believe what still happens. But anyway, I started this journal, and I would just go and fill this box up, and that's how the name came about, was Box Full of Nightmares. It's the box full of journals. Now, in these journals, is a story about every little thing. I've kept newspaper clippings, just tried to keep up with everything I could. And I figured one day something might be able to happen with it. And so as we turned it over to our writer, our writer, went through it, but before she would do the writing, she wanted to look into it and make sure it was correct. That's how we done it.
Yeah.
So what we wrote about can be validated by experiences, by other people saying yes, and that's how we did our book. And and there's lots of things in that book that people has never heard of, things that did happen. So it's available on Amazon for the listeners. If you want to, do your own work, you can do some reading and see some things you probably didn't know.
Yeah, I'd also recommend, too, William Ramsey's book, too, on the West Memphis 3. And Gary Meese has done something. These are real professionals, by the way. William Ramsey's an attorney. Gary Meese is an investigative reporter for years down there, lived down there. And the average person who's really knows their way around a courtroom and then knows the evidence in this case has no doubt of the guilt of these men. It's just when you get further and further and further away and you believe this kind of crazy story, well, they were young, misunderstood misfits, and they were picked on because it was a right-wing Baptist town, old Bible thumpers thumping their Bibles, which is the kind of thing that Ruff tried to make too as well. Now, do you get the impression, when you met with Mr. Ruff, that he ever read your book? Did he bother to read your book?
No, I don't know if he bought a copy of it or not, but he wanted me to come on his show, answer a list of questions, and promote the book. And I kind of seen some things in him when I talked to him. Now, we didn't sit there and talk the case. He sat there and told me about some of his experiences with people that he's run across in this case. And we didn't talk case, but but he did let me know that if you want to promote the book, come on the show and do this, and we'll do that. But after what I seen that he was up to and how he was going about it, and I have people all over the country, people that keep up with him.
Yeah.
And I don't ask them to; they just do. And they let me know. Here he comes.
Yeah. If you listen to the interview I did with Bob Ruff, it's a 2-hour interview, and he starts off trying to say he's unbiased. He's looking to this. He's asked questions. It was just so. He started out with this TV show. Right off, he was an advocate for the convicted, confessed killers, and they start to rehash a lot of stuff that's been proven wrong. And the involvement with the occult with these killers is so well documented. And for anybody to try and reverse all that and go back to this nonsense about, well, he was just a confused Wiccan, where the guys to this very day, his body is covered with sigils, which is this black magic tattoos. Okay, this is a passing interest with this guy. Outrageous. Yeah. Terry Hobbs, what do you want to leave us with? We got like 1 minute.
Well, if you ever get a chance to come to Memphis, look me up.
You know what?
I treat you to a meal.
Yeah. I definitely, I'm going to be driving around a lot coming up because my daughter's off in college, and as soon as we get out from under this quarantine, I'm going to come visit you.
Well, you're more than welcome to.
Thank you, my friend. Anything comes up on that, you want to go back on the air, give me a call. We'll put you right on the air.
I sure will. I thank you, Ed.
Thank you. Good night. And now a word from our sponsors. If you find yourself in need of legal representation, it can be a very stressful time in your life. In my career, I have dealt with thousands of lawyers, I've dealt with thousands of law firms, and I can confidently recommend to you Keith M. Davidson at kmdlaw.com. Available 24 hours, 7 days a week. Just log into kmdlaw.com. That's kmdlaw.com. Or you can call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. That's 833-4KMD-LAW. Personal injury, wrongful death, STDs, sexual assault, car accidents. They handle it all efficiently and professionally. It doesn't matter how imposing the opposition may be, because the team at kmdlaw.com are battle-tested and fierce. They will not stop until justice prevails. Go to kmdlaw.com or call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. If you're in for the fight of your life, stop screwing around and contact KMD Law.
Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Maybe the facility you manage could establish new revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services. Cart King International can be the answer to your needs. Cart King is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile coffee, food, and retail carts and kiosks. Cart King has been working with clients and corporations across North America for 20 years, providing innovative designs, custom manufacturing, and timely delivery. Carts and kiosks are fun, and so are the dozens of designs on our website. Please visit us today at www.cart-king.com or just call us at 1-877-986-7771 and get your sales rolling.
PureSoapFlakes.com, 218-568-2525. Have you ever heard of Castile Soap? Pure Soap Flake Company handcrafts fine soap bars, laundry powder, and concentrated soap flakes using organic vegetable oils from their northern Minnesota facility. Bathe your body and wash your clothes with Pure Soap products that are free of fragrance, GMOs, palm oil, sodium lauryl sulfate, and synthetic additives. Keep it clean, folks. Pure Soap Flake Company products are kind to living creatures and sensitive skin, safe for drains and waterways, and work great in high-efficiency washers and top and front-loading machines. They have a little promotion going on. Contact them to order some soap. Mention the Opperman Report. You're going to get a free gift. They're going to send a little extra soap, travel size, soap bars and laundry soap, cleaning soap flakes. I've been using that stuff all day long today. Great stuff. Order today at puresoapflakes.com or give them a call, 218-568-2525, 218-568-2525. Pure Soap Flake Company is a proud member of the Handcrafted Soap and Cosmetic Guild.
Are you ready to change your life, but don't know how to start? Is your stress and worries keeping you awake at night? Have you been battling grief, anxiety, or depression all alone? Have you lost touch with your own sense of being or spirituality? Soul Free Therapies offers professional and affordable live video streaming counseling and coaching services from the comfort of your own home. Sessions offered in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. Go to our website at www.soul-free.com and book your first session today.
The Opperman Report is brought to you by Aquadam.net. You can give them a call at 707-764-2119. A flooded home is never easy to deal with. You're left with the mess to clean up, the insurance companies to deal with, and not to mention all the memories, the precious memories that are lost in the flood. You can never replace those. And Aquadam can be a tool in your arsenal to protect your home and property from the floodwaters. The cofferdam is filled with water to control water and is reusable as long as it's taken care of. It can protect your home or business from rising floodwaters like a dam, but without the beavers. It can also be used in construction. If you need an area to be dewatered, an Aquadam can do the job. An Aquadam was used at SeaWorld in Orlando for the Mako roller coaster ride during the coaster's construction by dewatering the work area. An Aquadam is now dewatering the work area at San Antonio SeaWorld for their newest roller coaster ride. An Aquadam has been used in many construction projects all around the U.S. and all around the world. Now give Aquadam a call, 707-764-2119. You can look them up online at aquadam.net. You can find them on Facebook at Aquadam Inc. You call them up, you email them, you tell them Ed Opperman sent you, and they're going to take 10% off the price. Aquadam.net, 707-764-2119.